How you doing, guys? It's an absolutely scorching Saturday at the back end of May, or is it early June? God, it's early June already. And I'm back in the East Riding, back on home turf, and it's such a gorgeous day, I can barely see. But come around to visit some rural churches in the East Riding of Yorkshire. So we're up at Fimber. This is the church at Fimber, one of the smallest Sykes churches. And it's open today, so I get to see some of that lovely Clayton and Bell glass inside. And then, hopefully, we'll be up towards Wold Newton and see some of the old churches on the way on that road up towards Bridlington. So, let's just get going. So this is St Mary's Church at Fimber, the smallest of Sir Tatton Sykes churches in the East Riding, designed by George Edmund Street. Between 1869 and then completed by 1871. It replaced an ancient chapel of ease on the same site. And here you can see the wonderful ceilings in the chancel and the nave, described as a pointed wagon style ceiling. Really, really beautiful sort of painted Victorian woodwork up there, and a lot of the stained glass is really brilliant, really vibrant, colourful Clayton and Bell glass. So the next church here is St Andrew's at the wonderfully named village of Kirby Grindleith, which I've never heard of before, but it's in a little estate village with lots of nice estate houses built by the Sykes family at Sledmere. The church has a Norman west tower, which I'm sort of stood at its west side here. The nave is like an entirely rebuilt Victorian structure, but the chancel is really interesting because it's like a rebuild of a Norman chancel, but it has these fragments of old sort of cross slabs, medieval cross slabs that have been stuck in the exterior walls on the south and east faces, and there's absolutely loads of these fragments of crosses, so I thought it'd be interesting to show you some. So as you walk around the outside of the chancel here on its south side, you can see many of the really brilliantly well preserved and deeply cut examples of these, they're fragments of medieval cross slabs which have been reset here in the walls. They're really, really fantastic things. It's such a joy to be able to walk around buildings like this and investigate and pick out little objects like this. Real curiosities. So this is why investigating old churches is so much fun, because when you find things like this, it really adds to the overall enjoyment of these buildings. Here is the church dedicated to St Mary at the village of West Lutton. Very, very small village and small church. Well, we moved on pretty quickly from here as it was closed, and we really wanted to get to Weaverthorpe, which is the next church coming up now. This is the church I've been really excited about. It's St Andrew's at Weaverthorpe, getting up towards Bridlington now, and it's got that really, really amazing early medieval west tower. It's a bit too bright here, you can't quite see it. But unfortunately the church is locked, which is a shame. You can't even get in the south porch, and I would have loved to, because the tympanum above the south doorway has a sundial which dates the church, well, it's earlier than that, but than what the sundial states. But it places it in the 12th century, but the church is older. Unfortunately, I just can't get in and see it, so but I'll try and have a little sneak through the door and just see if I can, have a little spy of it. But there's some wonderful little features around here, and this is a really chalky valley of the Yorkshire Wolds, so there's some wonderful wildlife in the churchyard. And there's some great archaeology just south of the churchyard in one of the fields, which is the sort of earthworks of an old manor house to the Fitzherberts, which I didn't even know was here. And there's a really great informative board which explains a bit about that. So yeah, at least it's great to come and have a look around. So Weaverthorpe is one that I highly recommend, especially if it's open. Do come down to Weaverthorpe. It's an amazing church. Now come to the Church of All Saints at Wold Newton, which is the church that I've been so excited to see. This has been one that I've wanted to see for almost a year, for that amazing 12th century Tippenham above the south doorway, with its sort of like Maltese cross as it's described in the Pevsner, against the checkered background and with the decorated arched orders above it. It's amazing, and it's got this little bird carved on the, I guess it's the west sort of column. It's incredible, but the church is open as well, and inside there seems to be some other great features, the font as well, so very, very keen to go and see and have a really good look around in here. So here's that amazing doorway at All Saints Church at Wold Newton, which has been dated to between about 1140 and 1150, with these wonderful carvings that have survived so well, drawing sort of styles similar from Hunmanby and Thwing nearby. And inside you've got that wonderful font we just saw and these great 19th century hatchment boards as well, which were incredible. But the interior itself is just a really, really pleasant space. And the chancel arch as well has some remnants of old stone. So the last church that I'm visiting today is this church, St Cuthberts, at the village of Burton, Fleming, getting really close towards the Holderness, sort of North Holderness coast, well, yeah, a bit further north actually, near Linton. Another church that's been heavily butchered, I suppose, in the 1970s, and reading some of the leaflets in here, the parish want to have some. They want to do some work to sort of bring the church into the 21st century and do some repairs. Everything's whitewashed, including the font, which is a really early medieval font, or a medieval font, not as early as some of the others, perhaps. But there's some great 12th century architecture here just in the south wall and some other bits and bobs. A real surprise of everything that's in here. So let's just have a quick whirlwind tour. There's so much in this church that's sort of leaping out at me, but we'll just have a little whistle-stop tour. So what I'd really like to talk about here at St Cuthberts Church at Burton Fleming is actually a couple of quotes out of the Pevsner's Guide for this county, which itself needs to be taken with a pinch of salt and carefully read and interpreted when also looking around these buildings. But it says that the church has escaped a thorough restoration in the 19th century and unashamedly exhibits the results of centuries of maintenance by church wardens and parishioners, which is an interesting comment to make, really. But what I find so bizarre, and what is also, repeated in the Pevsner as well, is this east window. And the quote from the Pevsner is that the short chancel has a 15th century square-headed window with the worst of Victorian painted glass with scenes lifted straight from the Sunday school posters. The other thing here at Burton Fleming is the church says on the door, please keep the door closed because ducks and rabbits might come in the church. I've heard of bird gates and that. And I thought, well, ducks and rabbits? It turns out there is a really nice rabbit in the churchyard. It's just sat by the porch. Yeah, weird.